In this video today, I want to share with you the most destructive thing that can get in the way of pursuing your art or anything, really, any passion, anything that's really important in your life. And it's quite destructive if you don't really have a think about it and navigate it well. And it's something that I've really struggled over my life to manage, and I still manage it. But we all deal with this thing, and I want to talk to you today in this video about that. So let's get into it. Now, what I want to promise you too is I'm going to give you some solutions. So we won't be just talking about a problem here. We'll be talking about the solutions and the things that have helped me personally navigate this. Now, my voice is a little bit croaky. I'm recovering from being quite unwell for the past couple of weeks. It has knocked me off my feet and slowed me right down. My art has come to almost to a near standstill over this period of time, although I made decisions to make sure that I chipped away a little bit in my sketchbook each day. So this is one of those times where you really notice what is important, because when your life comes to a standstill, you have a period of time of disruption. You realise that you don't have all the time that you thought you had. Some things that were meant to happen don't happen, unfortunately, and you just have to give that over and accept that. And we all have these times, but they can make you more aware of the importance of prioritising your time or using it well, and the fact that it's quite limited. But it can also make you very aware of the power that we all have to choose well and to actually still be productive or proactive in times of trials and through challenges, and in the better times to use our time better and more productively and do the things that we need to be doing to move us forward in the areas that matter the most to us. But first we need to know what matters most to us and stop long enough to think about it. So what is that destructive thing I mentioned, that thing that gets in the way? It is simply the ability to say no and the ability to say yes, and the magnitude of saying yes too many times to too many things that don't matter as much, and how they create a lot of no's to the things that do matter, because there's only enough room in your life for so many yeses and so many no's. So the trick is to learn how to say no and yes, but they do need a concerted effort of thinking about what matters to you and how you can create boundaries around things so that your yeses can be the yeses that need to be in your life, and the no's can be dealt out without guilt, and you can be free of them. So I think our biggest enemy is actually the internet. It's created a very fast-paced, multi-optional universe for us. We have so many options and opportunities to spend our time in so many places that it's overwhelming. And for the artist in particular, or the creative person, the writer, or anyone practicing a skill that needs a lot of time and dedication to build that skill, is going to find that a real time sap, and not just a time sap, but a place where it can tie you through decision fatigue. Now, decision fatigue is a very real thing. It's the way our brain reacts to making decisions. We can only do so many decisions in a period of time, and scrolling the internet and looking at different options and making those decisions all the time, will I, won't I participate, can create a fatigue in you and steal from the energy that you could have for better things. So this isn't just a matter of switching social media off or turning the internet off. It's more than that. We actually need to have a very clear in our mind what we want to participate in and our direction and what that means. And because there are so many opportunities, so for instance for the artist there are so many opportunities to display your work, to show your work, to enter competitions. Just the whole universe is opened up there. So you can't participate in everything. Some things are worth it, some things aren't. A lot of things aren't. And you have to really discern what you want to participate in and how much time that is going to take away from you actually doing the thing that you love the most. Now, I can tell you from my personal experience, I literally do not know where, like with social media, I really do not know where the best place is to post, how often to post, what to post, or anything. The game of social media and exposure has become so tricky and oppositional to constructive progression that it's sometimes I wake up and think, do I bother? But I bother because my art needs to be out there and I want to connect with other people. But I have come to the conclusion myself personally that just share the journey and whatever happens, happens. And that has given me the freedom to actually live life. And, I've done all the things, I've done all the courses, I've spent the money, and there might be some answers out there that I haven't discovered. But at the end of the day, I stopped one day to think about what it was doing to me. And that happened actually when my accounts on Facebook were hacked, and I went down for a couple of weeks, and it was very difficult to get my accounts back, which I did. And in that time where I had the no social media, it was total blackout for me. Well, not total blackout, but it was pretty much a downtime. I went out into the garden and started spending time in the garden, and it really became apparent to me how many my hours were being stolen. So therefore my days, my months, my years from my life were being stolen. Now I do spend still a lot of time on social media, and I'm loving the YouTube, but I use it very deliberately, and I switch off a lot more than I used to. So I'm digesting I'm discerning what I digest, making sure it's healthy for me, and clicking off a lot of stuff that's not. I still like to be aware of the situation in the world and what's going on, but rabbit holes are not my thing, and I don't want to waste the time I've got left on this earth down rabbit holes or watching mindlessly things that really don't matter, that are just might be amusing or entertaining, but they're robbing me of my time with my family, in my home, in my garden, in my studio, and all the places that I would much prefer to be. Because at the end of the day, life is but a vapour, and it's over, and if we don't use our time well, we live only a very small part of it. So back to the art. Some of the things that I'm doing look like this. I'll share a few things that I do, and games I play with myself to get some things done. I've got a few things that I put in place recently in the cold weather. I come in and turn the heater on in my studio. If I know I really want to get out into the studio, that's what I do, and make sure that the studio is warm for me and welcoming. So little things like that can make a big difference. The other thing is too, to try and consciously chip away at very small amounts of concerted effort in the area of your choice. So I'll give you, for example, in the time I was ill, and I still am, but in the 2 weeks that I was really ill and pretty much moved from my bed to the lounge and back again, I made the decision to do a daily art challenge, which was the Strata Easel Challenge. Now, I would normally paint more elaborate paintings for that and push myself a lot harder, but I really did not have even the focus. I just wanted to sleep, and I didn't have the focus to do much at all. So I nearly didn't do it, but I decided to make it easier, and this is a default that I have. When things are difficult, rather than quitting, I make the decision to bring that thing down, narrow it down to a smaller chunk, something to digest a little easier. So I decided just to sketch for 5-10 minutes a day, or do a little study that took maximum 20 minutes, and depending on my energy. So even now, I'm stopping every time I need to cough, and but I've made the decision to make this video for you, and to feed my YouTube and everyone watching, and perhaps help a little even while I'm not feeling 100%. Now I want to tell you about a great book I'm reading. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But before I do, I want to talk a little bit more about that, breaking the things down. Now, it's very easy to get into the mindset that you want to be doing those big things, or you've got certain goals that you want to chip away at. But sometimes your time, or even your energy, or your thought life at the moment, at that particular time, makes that overwhelming and hard for you. So I'm speaking from my own experience. This is how I feel. And so there'll be situations where we'd love to be working on those big projects in my studio, but I'm not there yet. I need to actually ease my way into it. So what I do is I make a list, usually just in my mind, but you can write it down. I make a list of the things that need to happen in my studio to also make my life easier. So they may be something that needs to be sorted, decluttered, written down, some paperwork that needs to be done, emails, whatever. Those little things that only take a few minutes, or those little things that have been nagging at you for a while, and if they were out of the way, then it would make life easier. So if I can't actually paint then, if I can't be doing the art, I'll be doing something else instead. So chipping away at those things in those off times, and then you're saving those times, that creative time. It's freed up more because you've got other things out of the way, and you actually feel a bit better for it. The other thing I do is I do small exercises, creative exercises that will advance me as an artist. So never discount the things you learnt at the beginning, the things that actually built your skills at the beginning. So drawing, value studies, even preliminary work for bigger things can get your juices flowing for that big thing. So I often do that now, and it's becoming a regular practice for me to sit and do studies, do no-tans, and I will share that with you in a video, because it's a really important practice that can really help the end result in your paintings. So that's, you can even create a list of the things that you want to try out. And one of the things that I have started doing is to put those things, those little inspirations, down on a sticky note, and just the one thing on a sticky note, and then collecting all those sticky notes. And then what I'm going to do is end up putting it on a board. And then when I have just a few moments to try things, or I'm feeling like doing something different or experimenting or playing, I'll be able to pull off one of those sticky notes and go, oh, that's right, I wanted to do something on with high key, or I wanted to do a white on white painting, or, you know, there's all different things that I actually want to do. So just one sticky note per idea, and then you're not creating lists somewhere that get lost, or they're in the back of your a book, a workbook or anything, but they're just on that single piece of paper. And then as you do those things, you can throw the sticky note in the bin and consider it done, and consider it as part of your learning that you wouldn't have done had you not recorded that down. So those little exercises are a really good way of breaking down your workload to something small but still significant and helpful in your art. So that is that was a point that I hope you really digest, because it's helped me a lot. Now, there's one thing that you probably don't know about me, and I don't know if I've mentioned it in my videos, but I do have another channel. It's called The Urban Homestead Artist, and I created that channel a little while ago after the lockdowns eventually took my business away, and I had a retail premises that I had to close and come back home, and I was pretty tired, exhausted, mentally drained, and needing to recoup and stop and rest. And so what I did is I came home and I reassessed what was most important. And at that stage, my husband's business had closed. He had a home gym, so which I moved back into as my studio, which is the space you're looking at now. And of course I had to close my retail area that was meant to be a studio and teaching area, that I wasn't able to actually quite get to do that in the 2 years we were locked down. So life is very different now. I am teaching in person, and life is things have changed, but I've moved on to a certain degree. But what I did do was I started a garden. We have just a suburban block, and I started to get a bit concerned about provision and food, and how I didn't know what the future would bring at that stage. So I decided to turn the backyard into an organic vegetable garden. I started to watch YouTube on food forests and soil health, and I really got into it, and it was a great sanctuary space for me. So I created a channel just to encourage other people that might be in the financial situation that I was in at the time, and I'm not that much far advanced from that, but it just other people that don't have a lot of provision or a lot of support, and need to be getting a little bit more self-sufficient, and looking at ways to do things simply. And so I started with very little knowledge. I had a little bit of a background in no-dig gardening from years ago, but I started with a little bit of knowledge, started recycling and creating a garden, and it turned into quite a wonderful project. But more than that, I realised in the process of doing that how good it was for me, how much my soul was nurtured out in the garden. I felt like it was a spiritual place. I felt like it was a nurturing place. I felt like it was a safe place. So it has become a place that I do venture to, and I will drink my coffee and talk to my chickens, and it's become a really essential part of me. And I'm telling you about this not to promote my channel, but to say that sometimes these simple things can have more nourishment to your life than the big things, than the big achievements. And I was sitting out there as I started to feel my energy return. I was sitting out with my chickens, and I was sketching my chickens and having a hot lemon drink, and the sun was shining, and I'm sitting in my garden that is also just recouping from, you know, the summer beds and like weeds everywhere. So I've started weeding my way back into vegetables again. But I was sitting there and I stopped for a moment and thought, Kayleen, you know, what is really important? You know, what kind of achievement is really important? I sat there for a moment, and you know what I felt? I thought, this is enough. I don't need the big things. I don't need a lot of money, as long as I'm fed, and it's pretty important to me now. I know about what they're putting in our food, and the dangers of all that. That I'm growing some healthy food, chemical-free food, and I enjoy the time with the chickens, and I sat there. In the time I was sitting there for not very long, I'm seeing two kookaburras up on the roof, and you know, one started to come out with its laugh, and because I'm in Australia, Victoria, it's coming out with its laugh, and then this magpie comes and scares it off, and so I'm seeing swallows, and then I'm seeing the little fairy wrens, and then I'm seeing the wattle birds, and there was about 8 varieties of birds that came by, and I'm watching them, and then I see this dragonfly fly above me, which is a very good healthy sign for my garden. Seeing the birds already in the weeds, knowing that they will then fertilise my vegetables. They're little things, but they're still special. It's just like that saying, stop and smell the roses. We don't do it enough. We're distracted. We're distracted by scrolling the internet and mindless stuff, and we do need to be more mindful of life, of actually living. And so I love my art. My art gives me joy. I could aim for big things. I'm trying to aim for excellence, but I'm not driving myself now. I'm just realised that it's just nothing is worth being so driven that you miss life, that you miss the birds, that you miss the dragonfly, that you miss the funny thing the chicken did that day, that you miss the person walking past that you stopped to talk to and had a person-to-person conversation. You miss so many things that are real when we're living so virtually. So this video, I will tell you about that book, just a sec. So this video is really to encourage you to stop and think about those things for yourself. I just hope my videos enrich your life in some way. I do try and share the things that enrich me and pass them on. So I'm really, you know, if you're enjoying that content or it's been of value to you, please share, like and subscribe. It helps me, it helps other people that would benefit from this to actually see it, to get this video pushed out and the videos that I make pushed out, and obviously it helps me. Now the book. I want to talk briefly about this book. I've not got an affiliation. I've got no affiliate link or anything like that. It's just a book I got halfway through once before, and I found it so valuable. But I tend to do that with books, and I had to pick it up again. So I've picked it up again, and I'm working my way through it. It's called Atomic Habits. It's a brilliant book, and it talks about habits and how we form habits, and the value of forming habits, and how to break bad habits. But basically, I've just started reading into it, and I'm only about 3 chapters in at the moment. But already I'm taking the seeds of that wisdom into my life. And one of those things is the compounding interest of doing just 1% extra, or that 1%. And as I was sick and not able to do a lot, as I moved through rooms of my house, I just thought to myself, what can I do that's just going to make a little bit of a difference later on, even though I don't have a lot of energy? I pick up something, put it away. You know, it's just little things. I planted a few seeds. I started to pull a couple of weeds. And as my energy came back, I ended up weeding out quite a decent amount of garden, feeding the worms a lot of, the chickens a lot of bugs, which they appreciated. Gave them more time outside because I need to supervise them to keep them safe from foxes. You know, there was just a lot of things that happened because I had that in my mind. What is that little thing that I could do? Much like I told you before, how I break things down to small tasks. I was thinking, what are those little things to do? I don't have to weed for an hour. I could weed for 5 minutes. And just those 5 minutes turns into other things, and it grew and grew and grew. And already I can see the compounding benefit of that, doing that 1%, but also the compounding influence that it has of taking the pressure off the expectation of doing a thing, and actually you end up doing a lot more usually than you anticipated. But there is no guilt attached if you come back and say, look, I'm just doing 5 minutes and that's all you do. So it's a good game to play with yourself. I ended up actually decluttering I have in my laundry. It's a bit of a recycle station for the garden, and a bit of a dumping area for when I'm in and out the garden. And it had, built up, and I was thinking, I must do that section in the laundry. What if I just go and clean off one little shelf, and I'll just, maybe set the timer, which I didn't end up setting the timer, but I'll just set that, I'll just go for 15 minutes or whatever. And if I walk in there every day and just do 15 minutes, that thing that's been annoying me for so long will be done. And as it turned out, I ended up spending an hour and 20 minutes, an hour and a half, maybe a bit longer than an hour and a half, without the pressure, just wandering in and out, and finished the job. So it's, I said yes to a good thing that day, and I'm trying to make sure my yeses help me feel better and help me move forward in the things that are important to me, and they're not big things. This is the thing. Your things don't need to be big things, but they're big things to you, or they matter to you, and they can make a big difference to you, and they can free up your time and your energy and help you sleep better, the whole thing. So I hope that was of help. And please, I'd love to hear your feedback and anything that you've experienced, or if you relate, any tips that you have. And I just pray this does help you. God bless. I'll see you next time.